This is a story of a police officer who was so well thought of, he was trusted to guard the royal family.
Hidden from public view, this royal protection officer led a double life, entangled in a world of firearms and illicit encounters with sex workers.
And his loving wife had no idea what was going on until she got in the way.
On the afternoon of the 10th of January 1997, Patricia Coulton went to work as normal with two grown-up children. Patricia was a trusted care worker at the Linwood nursing home in Sunningdale.
Meanwhile, her husband, Michael Coulton, was on shift guarding the royal family here at one of the most famous buildings in the country, Buckingham Palace. So on that night, Patricia just leaves work from the nursing home as normal.
Yeah, she leaves at about 10 o'clock, which is her usual time, and gets into her car. But within about a minute, the car cuts out.
Meanwhile, on that cold January night, Michael Coulton finished his shift at the Royal Palace and went home. By 11:15 p.m, there was no sign of his wife. So he raised the alarm and called the police.
You know, he's shocked, he's devastated, he's grieving.
So when was she actually found?
So she was found the next day. A dog walker found her. She was still in the vehicle, blood all over her, beaten, stabbed, and her body was halfway out of the vehicle. Just a horrendous scene.
She was stabbed 15 times in the car, and some people locally heard screams.
Detectives started their methodical investigation by locking down the area and searching for vital clues. So, what do we know about Michael Coulton?
Well, Michael Coulton, he joined the Met Police in the 70s. Just a straightforward response driver when he joined. He was married and he had 2 children, and his wife Patricia, a happily married couple. He was deployed on royalty protection. He would stand outside the palace and he would be outside Windsor Castle. He would have been armed and making sure he's protecting royalty, diplomats. In 1976, he was at Notting Hill Carnival and he got badly stabbed. And he was off sick for 12 months.
It was during this sick leave that the cracks started to show in his marriage to Patricia. And by the early 1980s, it seemed Coulton was beginning to find solace elsewhere.
He was having an affair with a next-door neighbour, and he even talked to the next-door neighbour about how he was in this unhappy relationship with his wife, Patricia. And really, poor Patricia was completely blindsided. She had no idea.
In 1983, the couple separated and divorced. But very unusually, they came back together again just 3 years later.
So men like him often need that secure attachment figure, and they don't feel very strong without them. So she served a purpose.
A shocking revelation emerged.
So he was having an affair with a neighbour. Now, this neighbour recalls that he used to say things to her about Patricia, his wife, how he wished that he could drown her in the bath, or he had visions of electrocuting her.
5 days after Patricia's murder, police decided to revisit those closest to her, including her husband.
They carried out the search and they recovered numerous prohibited weapons.
Clearly unnerved by the search of his home by police colleagues, Coulton began behaving erratically.
He grabbed this pump-action shotgun and threatened the arresting officer.
Michael Coulton is suspended from duty by the Metropolitan Police after admitting 4 firearms offences. He was released on conditional bail a few days later.
At that stage, got no forensic evidence, no witnesses. He was at home, okay, he's got firearms illegally, but that does not make him a murderer because the method was stabbing and those firearms weren't related to the murder.
A witness came forward to tell the police they'd seen a blue Morris Ital car driving from the murder scene at the time of the killing. A woman came forward with even more startling revelations.
Diana Bridges, who was his former neighbour, he went to visit her the day after Patricia's death and asked her not to speak to the police. And it had the opposite effect on her, and she went to the police.
A burnt-out car had been discovered that witnesses placed at the scene of his wife Patricia Coulton's murder